you have to keep in mind, this is
Order at
just the
5:01.
second tonight, so just number 3.
No.
We'll discuss
don't
with
have
some of our routine items.
Kelly Griffith.
I hope that Heather, we knew Dustin wasn't going to be here, I think Heather will be here in a little bit. So, as always, Open Meetings Act posted on the northwest wall. You can take that in if you like. And Lisa, would you go ahead and call the roll?
Brad,
Yes.
Kent,
Here.
Joel.
Present.
Okay.
3 out of 5, you bet. Would you all join me in the pledge of allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody. First item is the consent agenda. Welcome, Heather.
My apologies.
You're okay. You just missed the pledge of allegiance. We'll have you do that later.
I'll say after class.
Sergeant at Arms.
So, on to the consent agenda. And as always, you can consider items individually or approve all the claims, treasurer's reports, and department head reports with one motion.
So I looked through them, I don't have any that like the format on the claims.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
We all noticed that, yeah.
So, for what it's worth in your new system,
So far, we like it.
yeah, I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion and second, any discussion? Go ahead, call roll.
Brad,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Heather.
Yes.
Motion carried 3-0. I'll move on to the mayor's appointments and reports. No appointments this month, and I'm always going to think of something for a report, and then I forget to do it, so no mayor's report either. That will move us on. We do have public hearing for our, a couple public hearings. So we can open both of those at the same time, correct? So we are going to open the public hearings for the Citizens Advisory Review Committee's 6-month report on the LB 840 program and Resolution 2601 adopting long-range 6-year planned highway, road, and street improvements based upon priority needs. So those public hearings are both opened at 5:04, and we will leave them open for at least 15 minutes or so. But we may move on to other agenda items if there's no public comments or other. We can start with the CARC report. Maybe somebody here to give that, or
Marcus wasn't able to be.
Marcus not able to make it.
I don't see anybody else here from the committee either.
Marcus did review the files, and hopefully you all got a chance to read his report. It's in the packet. He didn't find anything out of the ordinary, I believe. Kristen, did you have anything?
So I think everything was pretty straightforward this time.
Yeah, all loans were up to date.
There's one we overpaid, I don't know the amount, but did we get that back?
Not yet.
Okay.
Still in the process. We'll get caught up there. It's better to be overpaid than underpaid, right?
I've been to Kenji on.
Yeah.
So we just leave that open for a while?
Yeah, we'll leave that open in case somebody
I didn't
comes
have
in.
any
And also,
questions.
if anybody has comments on the 6-year road plan, I'm sure take comments on that. Jesse, you got anything you want to start with?
Well, I could just, I guess I could just let you know how, typically how you kind of go through this thing. Take last year's plan and went through with Lisa and Jade and kind of talked about what you had before. Then we try to put together kind of a preliminary plan, is what you should have in your packets right now. And we can review those really quickly if you'd like to, based on the project. At that point, if there's any additions, deletions, if we want to move anything from the 1 year to the 6 year, back and forth, take anything off, add anything, we can sure amend that. And then if there's anything else, we will basically, then you would need to adopt that resolution based upon what we discussed. So I guess just kind of quickly going through it, looking at that one-year plan, if you guys have that. Essentially, right now, what you have in the one-year plan is about 20 blocks of sealant. Kind of a new program that Jake was looking at, and it seems like a pretty good product, maybe a little bit more durable than just like an armor coat type of thing. Looking for something to last a little longer than maybe just a Band-Aid. So he's looking at 3rd and 4th Street from Main over to Pine, and then a stretch on Pine from 4th down to 1st. So
You guys might ask, or have the streets department ask, Lisa, county just bought a crack seal machine that you run the tar through, and they've done a bunch of that. I don't know if they'd be willing to lease it to you to help with their costs, but, I mean, it's, you know, seal cracks, keep moisture out. If you wanted to road out by John Deere, they did, and one out by the airport, and it looks pretty good when they get it all done. You walk on it, and it's, and a lot of material gets put on them, and then they'll armor coat over the top of that, but I don't know if that's anything then they may say no, and I'm not interested in leasing it, but if you guys ever thought about doing any of that yourself, they've bought the equipment now.
Okay.
good resource. So that's kind of what you're looking at for the one-year plan. For the 6-year plan, you can follow kind of the, there's a legend over there. If you're wondering those numbers, M103 is the code for Ainsworth, so that's going to be on every one of your projects, and then the parentheses is the project by number. So, like project 100, East 1st Street from Main to Pine. 107 is 7th Avenue from Maple to Oak. A lot of these are, like I said, I think they've been on here for quite a while from the sounds of it. I know in the street study that we did, these are a lot of the items as well. Item 109 would be Harrington from 1st to 4th. 116, 8th Street from Maple to Ash. 117 Elm Street from 1st to 6th. 118 is Pine from 1st to 4th. And then 119 is the stretch of the old highway. That was the one that they were looking at. They were looking at going back with the asphalt, so hopefully that could coincide with the
Next year when that.
with the plant. So if you think that, you know, that would be something that you could potentially look at. If you thought that there was gonna be an asphalt plant somewhere close and you were thinking of going that way, that might be a candidate to switch to the linear plant.
You got that under two colors there, Jess, is that on the old 7?
Concrete on that one spot there,
Oh.
right?
Yeah, on
That's concrete that far,
Yeah.
okay. It
up
is
through that first block.
Yeah, the first block and then it's asphalt from there to
Okay.
Janelle.
Well, yeah, when would you, so let's say a plant shows up this time of year from now, when do you have to do engineering so we'd be ready?
Honestly, on an asphalt street like that, you could get by with very minimal engineering. I mean, I would.
Put that in notes. The engineer said minimal.
I mean, if all you're doing is overlaying some asphalt, I mean, I don't need to over engineer something like
Okay,
that. I mean,
because
that'd
there'll
be
be no
something-
curb or gutter on that.
No, you just wanna look at that first part of the concrete and make sure, because you check for drainage and whatnot. If all you're doing is overlaying on the other, you get drainage in your ditches, I mean, that's cut and dry, so.
And do you take that back down to the dirt when you do that, or?
The one thing I look at is, you're gonna wanna look at the subgrade. If you've
Yeah.
got potholes and you just go over the top of it, your potholes are gonna reflect right back through. So you wanna kinda look at any,
We don't want to do that.
no,
That road gets a
cracking here.
tremendous amount of truck traffic.
Right, so if we've got some bad spots, we wanna make sure we dig those out, get them back good before we go back with anything. And typically on an asphalt overlay like that, if you go back with six inches, they'll come in and mill a pretty good chunk of it off as well, so. Be more of a coordination issue and talk about some quantities and get some prices.
Well, I think we've discussed it several times. I mean, I don't think we've ever officially approved it, but you need to know. I think we're all pretty interested in getting that done with the plants here, so.
Okay. We can kinda keep our ears out and, you know, same goes there, and we can coordinate that. I mean, it's all about, as soon as you know, getting with the contractor, the state, whoever lines up to.
Now, is there any cost on that to the adjacent landowners on that? If you did a like I say, a paving district or something like that, would there be,
Probably not without curb and gutter.
yeah, I didn't know how that
At
works.
least that's
They
what
had-
it was, yeah.
Yeah, you had to have curb and gutter to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can, assessments are kind of, I don't know, we might have to go back and look and see what we got on the books, because assessments are kind of goofy. You can go back and it's all kind of how you have it set up. You can assess really whatever you want. I mean, you can assess any kind of a hard surfacing, I would think.
Okay.
Unless you go back, unless it's already been assessed, there's kind of a goofy thing about that. Intersections, whether you leave them or leave those in, or what, I mean, there's a variety of things that you can look at, but I don't know on,
The last time,
that's a goofy stretch through there
Yeah,
too,
it
anyway,
is.
being the old highway. It's not like you're going down a residential street, so.
So I didn't, yeah, 'cause I didn't know if that qualified or not, or if you wanted to or not.
you were engineer on our last street project many years ago with concretes. Do you have the, you might look up on that, see what.
How we did the assessments?
Yeah, I think we did, like, I know we did all the intersections and the alleys, and then I think we
So-
might have been 50-50 on the rest, but we had some CDBG money we used.
And it could have even went, I know on some of those, depending on the side streets as well, some of that can go back in percentage to the next.
Around the corner of an intersection,
Right,
yeah.
right. I know I was telling Lisa that I had a 400-page spreadsheet built for
There you
this
go.
thing that would make my head explode right now, but we can sure go back and look at it, so.
Because that was under different office management there too.
Yeah. So,
So do we need to have old 7 in 1 year, or this is just 26 and we end up doing it in 27, doesn't make any difference?
So I think, if we're gonna have that asphalt plant at all, I think in 27, I think that's when we need to plan that, probably be our
Right.
cheapest.
and it doesn't matter, I mean,
But I didn't know what year we need to put it in.
if that's one that's, you think is a priority, I mean, I'd recommend moving it, because it's not like if, this is a planning document, so you're not held to the fire on any of this stuff. So if you put it on there and it doesn't happen till 27, that's not a big deal. I mean, most of these things, if you have something that you decide to do over here and it's not on the one-year plan, that's not a big deal either, we can amend it. It's just, you're trying to plan, and then the state can see that their wheel tax money is getting spent appropriately, so. If you're thinking that, I would almost recommend doing it in 1 year.
I had talked to Mark to see what the state's projects were, and he said they were gonna be in Stewart this summer, but the following summer, 2027, they have an Ainsworth Johnstown project planned.
That'd be great. Yeah,
So 2027 would be the better
As long as we do have it on one of them,
logistics wise.
we're in
yeah,
good
whatever
shape.
you think we need to have it on. Looks like it's 27.
That's fine, we can do her then too. So if that's the case, I would say, basically, as, I guess, you need a resolution to approve the plan as presented, pretty much keeping it the way you got it right there. And we will finalize, all the opinions, costs, and everything else that the state needs, and clean it up, get it sent in.
Now, you have opinions of probable cost for that section, right? The one block with 6 inches of concrete and the other with 6 inches of asphalt.
Right.
Okay. And what were the funds we received again?
488 roughly.
Okay.
Any comments from the public on the 1 and 6 year road plan?
Is the previous paving district all paid off, or is that still in debt service, do you know?
No, that is.
It's off the books?
Are you guys looking at Senator Fisher's funds for that 2027 project that could go in that fiscal year 27 budget potentially for an earmark?
Which funds again?
For the Senator Fisher application. So that's due on the 23rd. That would be, it's similar to the one we did for the care center.
County just got one for this year for just shy of 900K for bridges. That's same type,
Yes.
same pool?
Yep.
Well, yeah, if there's some funding, we should probably look into it. It's due now,
23rd.
okay. Even though we won't be doing the work till next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can look into that. Well, if there's no other comments on either the Citizens Advisory Review Committee report or the road plan, I'm gonna go ahead and close the hearings at 5:12. And we can move on. I don't think we need any action for the card report, or do we have to accept that, or? I don't,
I don't know that it's required.
I don't think we need any action there unless you prefer to, but we would consider resolution number 2601.
I move we approve resolution 2601, adopting a long-range 6-year plan of highway, road, and street improvements based upon priority of needs.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Go ahead and call the roll.
Kent,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. Moving on, skip right through old business since there's none. On to our regular agenda, and first up we'll have our NPPD update. Brittany's here again. Seems like it was just the other day.
It does,
The year
doesn't it?
flies by. It's good to see you
It does.
again.
Oh, he's got,
Thank you.
he's passing them out to everybody. I was just gonna, I had a separate comment. He's new.
Thank you.
There
You got extras, Chris?
Yeah.
You bet you got it. Appreciate it.
He's passing as far as they'll go. He's got some more.
Brittany brings you as like the Vanna White, or turn
Yeah.
over any letters, or?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll let.
Well, I'm Brittany Koenig with the Nebraska Public Power District. I'm account manager at the retail level, and with me this evening is Chris Lammers. I'm sure most of you know him pretty well. He is one of our journeyman line technicians here in Ainsworth. So lives in Ainsworth, has a family here in Ainsworth, goes to school, and just picked up the kids from track practice. So made it on time. As you remember, last year he was supposed to come and claimed he was still working. And now this year I got the same from Lee. But Lee showed up last year, so one of these days we will get them both here at once. Maybe, maybe not. So what I do every year is I come out and I give an annual update on the things that NPPD helps provide to the community. And then we talk about NPPD, some overall things. And then I can take any questions that you might have. So just briefly, for you who may not know, the city of Ainsworth actually owns the distribution system. And that's the wires and everything that you'll see, meters and that type of thing. NPPD operates it and maintains it, builds things. And for that honor and privilege, we collect and remit a 12% lease payment to the city of Ainsworth. That money goes to their general fund, and then the council that you all elect spends that money as they see fit. In 2025, we collected and remitted $286,480.45. Also with that, $27,816.45 in city sales tax to Ainsworth. Now, state statute dictates that for every dollar of revenue we collect inside city limits, we collect and remit a 5% gross or revenue tax to the county. Then the county kicks that back out to taxing entities. And I'm not sure what the city gets back for that. It's a pretty small percentage, but you do get some of that back as well. And in 2025, that was $116,386.73 paid to Brown County. We have energy efficiency incentives. Yes, we produce and sell power. However, we also believe in using power efficiently and effectively. So we do offer energy efficiency incentives. Anything from electric lawn tools, heat pumps, insulation, heating and cooling tune-ups, and the money varies of what the program is. But in 2025, $1,737.76 in incentives were received by customers in Ainsworth. And that can be City of Ainsworth, It can be a residential customer, it can be a business here in town. It doesn't matter. No one is excluded from getting those benefits. So we really do encourage you to use those. If you have any questions specifically about those, they are located on our website. If you have trouble locating them, we can always help you with that. We also want to be sustainable, both now and well into the future. On the front page, you will see our generation mix. Just like when you're making a financial investment, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. And we believe the same philosophy when it comes to our resource mix. So if you look, we are 58.2% carbon free. That's our goal. We want to be 100% carbon free by 2050. If you look at our mix, you can see that we are 45% nuclear. That surprises a lot of people. They don't realize that we are so much nuclear. We do have coal, 28.4%. That coal, we are very lucky, our coal plant is in Sutherland, so out west. It is by the Powder River Basin in Wyoming, which is where we obtain our coal. So one, low transportation costs. Two, it is lower sulfur coal. So our emissions are a little bit better there, and we consistently operate that plant as one of the lowest cost production plants in the country. So we're not just talking Nebraska, we're talking the United States. So we're pretty proud of that to have that in our fleet. Solar is 0.3%, wind 6%, hydro 6.9%. So we are building those resources up, but certainly nuclear and coal are, we always look at dispatchable. What can we get online, what can we ramp up and take down as we have to. So those are two great resources for us. If you flip over to the back, we'll talk a little bit more about NPPD. So you guys are served at the retail level. And in retail, we hang our hats on the three R's is what we call them. And that's rates, low rates, reliability of the grid, and relationships. Relationships are why Chris and Lee are here in town, and I'm sure you guys also know Todd. He's from Bassett, but I know they work together pretty much every day. And I will ask later if there's anything else we can be doing. Reliability. Our grid consistently tests out at reliability. Currently, we're always usually in the top 3 across the country of all the states. Now I think we're sitting at number 1. So that's a great thing to be able to say. That means that when there is an outage, our response time is quick. When there is a little bit of wind, we do not lose power. We try to build for those types of things, but that exceptional service when the power does go down. So we all know if Mother Nature is going to impose her will, she is going to win every time. There is nothing you can do to beat tornadoes. We even find squirrels are tough adversaries. God dang, they're worthy. I tell you what, they are busy creatures, especially this time of year and in the fall. So if someone really says, can a squirrel take an entire town down? The answer to that is yes. They are pesky, but that's the way it is. Tree branches also are another thing, but we have vegetation management programs to help with those things. We don't intend to ruin anyone's lives by taking a tree or taking branches off a tree. What that's done for is to enhance reliability so that when a storm blows through or we have a growth of that tree, it is not running into that line and causing issues, because that can sure happen too. The last thing we have is affordability or rate stability. Now, from 2014 to 2024, that 11-year span, we did not take an overall rate increase. It was a 0 overall rate increase, while the average United States residential customer experienced a 24.4% increase. So we were able to hold steady. Now, over the last couple of years, we have had to take a couple of modest rate increases. It was an overall 2% and then 3% this year. Now, the 2% looks like on a 1,000 kilowatt hour bill. I don't know if you guys look at that or just at the dollar amount, but if you look at the kilowatt hours on your bill, if you're around 1,000, I know the average in Ainsworth is a bit more than that, but on a 1,000 kilowatt hour bill, $3.25 is about what that equates to. So when you look at the way inflation has taken things, we still feel that electricity is a pretty good value still. So with that, you may wonder why the rate increases. Well, we have an unprecedented amount of requests for power. Everyone learned a new word, and that's megawatt. A lot of times, if you want to build a brand new subdivision here with a dozen houses, go ahead. That's not going to do anything to power. But a megawatt is a lot of power. We see projects coming in who want 50 megawatts, 300 megawatts, and that's a crazy amount of power. So we have developed a plan to power Nebraska now and well into the future. No matter what you make here, we are not running out of power. We will always be able to make more power. What we're working on now is some generation, and then you have to be able to transmit that. So our transmission lines as well. So we are working on those. One thing about power, it doesn't happen overnight, and it's pretty expensive. So we are looking at spending over $2 billion, that's with a B, on some new generating resources. And so some key facts here for you, and I know we touched on this last year, but we have the Princeton Road Station, where construction is actually going to begin this year, and that's going to be 216 megawatts from reciprocating internal combustion engines, you'll hear RICE engines, and then 478 megawatts of CT or combustion turbines. Also approved is Beatrice Power Station. We're going to put in 717 megawatts of combustion turbine there. We're also looking at relicensing our nuclear plant, which is 835 megawatts. So the Princeton Road Station and Beatrice, that's where that $2 billion comes in. So it's a lot of money.
Combustion of natural gas power then, or?
Yes. And the target service date is June of 2029 for the Princeton Road Station, and then Beatrice will be 2031, 32, and 33. We're gonna phase that in. So we are looking at that. Another question we get is, where are we at with those SMRs? That's a small modular reactor. Now, as you know, we have been around the state looking at different areas. It's narrowed down to 16 towns. Currently, the third party or the consultant is evaluating those towns for location, proximity to what they need, all of the things. It will be narrowed down to 2 to 4 towns, and we anticipate hearing something in the second quarter of this year. So nothing yet, but obviously it takes time to evaluate all that stuff. It's easy when you're doing a high level and say, hey, these places look good. So when we identified those towns, we went around and did open houses and said, hey, come on, ask your questions. Get your questions out there so they can be answered. You know, any concerns can be eased, or you know, you can be heard. And we had some really good turnouts across the state. Actually, every town we approached is in. They would love to have them. So, but we're going to narrow it down to 2 to 4, the 2 to 4 most feasible, and then go from there. The technology is still being developed, but the nice thing about those small modular reactors is that in a small footprint, you can pack a lot of megawatts. So that's a really good thing.
So you said Cooper does 800?
Yep, 835.
What's one of the small ones do, roughly? What do they anticipate?
For the units,
How many
50.
megawatts?
50, yes, and so you can put them together, like if you wanted to put 6 of them in, you could. Yeah, I don't know what the plan is, but that's what we're looking at. But yeah, you can, yeah. And I think they can be sized at different, but I've heard 50. My lion, no, good.
50, 100,
Yeah.
120. What kind of footprint would those have building-wise, to say if you housed 3 or 4 of them in one? Do you know, I mean, what kind of, obviously you have a security perimeter, I'm sure, but.
Yeah.
Yes, there would be. And we hear there's different technology, because people say, well, don't this have to be by water? Most nuclear plants are by water. What kind of water resources do you need? And the truth is, there's different technology that it's a little bit different. So you don't necessarily need all those things. At our open houses, we did have our nuclear expert who was visiting with all the folks who had those questions. He is incredibly knowledgeable. But yeah, he taught us things about the technology that, you know, we hadn't even really known about. Well, we didn't know about, he did, obviously, but, yes. So with that, does anyone have any questions?
So to get 100% free by 2050, those are gonna be probably the main method of doing that.
That will definitely help, yes, yes.
Natural gas considered carbon free or not?
Oh, it is?
It's clean.
Oh, okay.
It's clean.
Yeah.
Yep, just like nuclear is a clean
Yeah.
resource, it's a clean generating resource, yep.
You see a lot of plants converting over from coal to natural gas now. We're seeing more of it. I think NPPD was gonna be doing that as well as one of their plants until that got
Well, it became political.
Yeah.
Didn't
It did, yeah,
real fast.
yes. The, OPPD, yeah, had a plan and it kinda got squelched a little bit. Does anyone have any questions? Or any other questions, I should say? No? All right. Now, I'll just say it, so that it doesn't come up later. I know that there have been a few instances where maybe voltage dipped a little here in town. We looked into it. We did find, we think we have the issues identified. They're not one and the same. They are different issues. But it's on the sub-transmission system. So you have your generating plants, and then from there, that's transmission. Then it goes to substations, and from substation to substation, that's where you have your sub-transmission. And then things happen from there. And so it's on the sub-transmission side of things. So what I would encourage all of you to do if you experience any of that dip in voltage, and it could be like a flickering light, or it could just be where it seems to get dimmer and then comes back. Now the good news is, if there is a blink, like if you have lights, then you don't, then you do, that's a blink. We will see those. Now, if you just have those dips sometimes, if it doesn't throw it out of normal ranges of voltage, we have acceptable and unacceptable levels of voltage. Jump in if I'm lying, okay? Don't let me get out over my skis here. But if when that happens, then we are alerted when we have high or low. But if it stays in those acceptable ranges, which these did, we wouldn't know about them. We wouldn't see them. So we rely on everyone to call in. So please do call, and we can start looking at it immediately. If we have to go to a wholesale customer, for example, and say, hey, it looks like you may be causing issues here, we need to work with them to do things, or if it's coming out of a generating plant, we will look into those things, but we've got to be able to identify it. So the sooner that we know about it, we can start looking into it and get someone on it. So that would be what I would say about that. We don't desire those things any more than any of you. If you have sensitive equipment or equipment that's sensitive to that, you're gonna see it. Other people might not even notice it, but if your equipment is such that it's sensitive to that, you will see it. So please, never hesitate to call in. With that, I will ask you, is there anything that we could do differently or better? He's here, so let him have it.
Don't beat me up to that.
Well, I've said this before, but he and Lee are fantastic to work with. They've helped us out on a couple projects radio-wise. They've just been very good to work with, so.
Good, good. It's good to hear. They make it pretty easy for me, I will say that. I mean, not that I can really do anything to them if they don't. They'll just hate to see my name come up on their phone even more than they already do.
I screen my calls.
Yeah, that's true. I believe that. Anything else? Okay, well then, thank you all so much for your time, and as always, just give us a call if you need us, okay? Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ricky.
You bet.
We thought those little dips were just squirrels.
Some of them are, though.
Yeah, some of them are.
Appreciate you coming to visit with us.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Next item is to consider sealed bids for the farm lease. Unfortunately, we received no sealed bids, so I guess my recommendation, I know I got a call late today that somebody is interested, they forgot. My recommendation would be that we extend the deadline for another 20, I mean, is there a time we have to, or
Before the next meeting.
if we could extend that deadline to March 20th or
Those
March
come up, how
31st?
many,
or-
how often? There are three.
That would be the simple way to handle it, I believe, but you're welcome to
And this is all farm, this is the
34 acres.
34 acres.
Yeah.
Oh, the
south side of the dump.
Yeah, yeah, south side, yeah.
Otherwise Jade's gonna be farming corn this summer.
Well, that's an option.
Lose money there too.
Yeah. All you do is offer it, I guess.
I make a motion to table the farm lease till next meeting.
To extend the deadline
Extend the deadline for the bids for the farm lease program.
to what date?
What's our next meeting?
April 1st or?
Yeah, it's April 1st, April Fool's.
Second.
Motion and a second to extend the accepting of the sealed bids for the farm lease until April 1st. Any other discussion? Go ahead and call the roll.
Heather,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
10 for $1 and have me 34 acres around the tower to mess with.
We reserve the right to reject.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, there's
I
always
had to
that.
accept the high bid.
All
You
right.
might get it for that.
Moving on, we can discuss and consider the Sellers Barton Museum. I guess I can just mention that last Wednesday, there was a representative from the company that we had contacted about, they have the ability to clean mold off of artifacts. And they had given us an estimate based on photographs, but you had said, now let's get somebody up here and get a better estimate. So Heather and Lisa and I and Danny Bennett and two others from the Carlene and Cindy. We all met with them last Wednesday. She went through, took photos, videoed, explained some things to us, that anything can be cleaned, that some things are harder than others. The fabrics can be cleaned, but may still end up with, stain on them. But as far as I know, we haven't received anything back, so we're still basically in the information gathering mode on that. I don't know if anybody else that was there wants to add anything from the visit.
How much was the bid, the original bid that our estimate that she gave you?
The guy from her company said low end 30,000, high end 50 to 60. He was just going by photos, so.
They did give a little bit different time frame too,
Yeah.
between the two people that we spoke with. The first one had said maybe like a week to inventory and then a couple weeks to clean, and then after visiting, the new update was about 2 to 3 weeks to inventory and then about 3 weeks to clean. So I think she did take some videos, just to make sure that they had a comprehensive idea of how many artifacts were in the museum. Because she did make the comment that there was a sizable inventory. And so I kind of, based off of that time frame change, I kind of assumed that the bid would also probably increase with the amount of time required.
Yeah, my impression was that there was more items there than she was expecting. And that's just my impression. So I guess I don't know that I don't know what else to tell you until we know more. And then we can keep moving forward.
So they're planning on looking at the pictures and stuff and then kind of give us a better idea of a bid and stuff like that for what they got.
Right.
So
Right, a
so we're just
little
kinda,
more accurate.
it's kinda in their hands now to look through their pictures, photographs, and, give us a bid on what it's gonna take to clean it.
And then she did discuss, whether it was something that could be an on-site cleaning. All of the fabrics would have to go to their facility because it would require a different type of, a gentler cleaning process. And then also the discussion of what happens once they're cleaned, where they would go. Because would they have to store them? Would we have a facility to store them? All those things they were going to take into consideration. And just kind of have those as cost options on that estimate.
So maybe we might have that bid by next meeting as well.
We should have,
I hope so.
I was hoping maybe we'd have it.
I thought there was a chance we'd have it by today, but yeah.
I looked right before we came in here.
No.
So yeah, Bill?
If I could just ask a question too, I'm here just as a friend of the library, or a friend of the museum, and the library too, museum. And I have been a member of that committee in the past, and we have had a group of basically friends of the museum plus the current committee discussing some different things that we can do, and we've all done a little bit of research and that sort of thing too. And this is, I was reading some information today on Nebraska, small Nebraska museums. This is not an uncommon issue that they're all having right now, because as our infrastructure is aging, we're having more issues with climate control in those infrastructures. We have known for a very long time that north addition on the cabin there is the bane of our problem. It's leaked, the roof is leaked, and the basement that was put in there with good intentions was not a good idea. So we really have been trying to go through a myriad of different ideas of how we can treat this and how we can deal with this. I just, for example, today I saw Sarpy County has a county museum, and they've got 100,000 pieces that need cleaned, and that's going to cost them way more, closer to $1 million. We don't have anywhere near that, but we know that there's going to be an initial cost, and then we know that once that stuff is cleaned and taken care of, that the facility's got to be changed in some way or another. It could be as straightforward as tearing off that north addition and filling in the basement foundation. We know that whole block has trouble with groundwater, as the city hall and the jail can both confirm. But we really have a strong feeling about the fact that when that thing was built in 1936, the original cabin, was the 50th anniversary of Ainsworth's founding. And now we're looking at 90 years since that cabin itself was constructed. And the people that did that knew what they were doing. They used oak logs, and if you notice, the original part is not our problem. That's never been the issue. Chinking takes care of all the issues with that, but it's what we added on when we went to pine logs, and we didn't have cabin builders anymore. And so that's an issue, and that's a whole different story. But primarily to initiate this, we really feel strongly about preserving what we can, while knowing that there are some things that we won't be able to save in there too, and that we'll need to maybe reconfigure some of that. But whether it's in that building or another, we really want to preserve as much of that as we can. One of the things that's always was confusing, even 10 years ago when I was on a committee, or 9 years ago, was exactly what kind of an operating cost or what kind of funds that the museum had, at the city level. Whether it was just a maintenance fund that we had every year to keep things up and to water the lawn and pay for attendance in the summer to run it, or if there was, we've heard $10,000, $20,000 that was earmarked for us, and we're not sure if we really have that or not. That's never been clear. It wasn't clear 10 years ago when I was on, and I'm not sure it's clear now, and would be good to know that in the near future too, so we know, that we have some initial funding to take care of some of the early things with that, but, and we know this isn't a project that's gonna get done quickly. We'd like to have it quickly, but about 8 more years, and we're looking at the 150th anniversary of the community, and it would be nice to have everything up and operating and well done and preserved, and a good climate control in place wherever we are with the museum contents at that point, so that we don't have to go through this again. So those are just some of the things that we've been talking about and we've been kicking around, and we'll continue to work on. We know it's cost prohibitive, but we also know that our local heritage is not bound by any amount of money either. We take a lot of pride in that, and we want to maintain that. So we're wanting to work everything from the city to the community to anybody out there that's willing to contribute. And we know there's still a lot of treasure of history in the community that people like to share too. So we just want to keep the message out there that we're interested, and we want to do what we can. And so the more information we can get, the better we can do to get this thing started. Because we do need to get it started. There's not going to be any, from what I understand, they said the damage is done. It's not going to get worse, but now it's the time to start cleaning up and fixing what we have. And if anybody else has anything to add to that.
Does the city have any money that they can put towards this? I mean, I was reading a grant that I had seen from 2022, and it said in that grant at the bottom of that the lodging committee had given the city some money for fixing the logs, and then for other reasons, they never got fixed. But it said in there on the bottom that the city was putting aside $10,000 yearly to go for the maintenance of the museum. Have they been doing that, or has that been spent, or is there any money available through that?
Lisa can probably answer it better. Lodging committee tax, or not tax, the money they provided is sitting in an account, waiting to do that work. We did visit with them. They had a meeting the other day, and they came in afterwards. Linda came in and asked about that money, and just wanted to follow up on it. And our question is, could that money be used for other things, or does it have to be for the structural part? And I don't know that she even really was sure the answer on that, but that their committee could talk about it. So that money's in an account, that's sitting there.
And how much is that? Do you know?
That's $20,000, wasn't it? Yeah.
Now, in the grant, it said that you were gonna set aside $10,000 yearly. Have you been doing that, or
Well,
is that not?
It's not in the way probably you're thinking that sounds. When the city does the budget for the different departments annually, the cabin being a department essentially of the city, we do set aside so much for, payroll and all of your taxes and all of those things that you have to set for each department. And then there is a maintenance line that's just kind of a general maintenance, and usually that's between $6,000 and $10,000. So if a window breaks, or if something happens to a door, or, the general maintenance of having it open and operating it. And then there's a capital improvement line. And sometimes there's no money in the capital improvement line in that year, and sometimes there is, depending on if the city has budgeted a specific capital improvement project to be done, like the repair of the logs that year. So the $20,000 that we have from lodging tax, we've kind of just carried that over as a capital improvement line until we actually do the project. But like I said, in years past, over the 10 years that I've been here, sometimes there's money in that line, sometimes there's not, but there's typically always a certain dollar amount allocated to maintenance. But the way the city's budget works, and I want to say it's like a use it or lose it, but the budget starts over each year. So if you didn't spend the $10,000 last year, it's not like you then put $20,000 in the maintenance line and so on and so forth. It's just because it's all in the general fund. It's all coming out of general property taxes. So the budget is really just a statement of authority, that if something happens, we have the authority to spend up to that $10,000 on the maintenance that year. Next year, it might be a different number. So it's not like it's a sinking fund, you know, where it keeps building.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how most government budgets are. You
Yeah.
have that spending
Right.
authority, but you don't, that doesn't add up over time. It's just an annual allocation that if you need it, you use it, and if you don't,
Now, is there any reason why they haven't made the improvements on the cabin? Like, the roof is leaking, is there a reason why they haven't fixed or at least patched it so it wouldn't keep leaking? And I noticed walking by it, some of the, even on that new addition, some of this log siding is coming loose and there's nails sticking out. I mean, they're not, and then I really think it needs to have what they put, a clear coat on it, which I think is supposed to be done every 5 years, and has that been done?
I guess I don't know if I can tell you the exact answer. I think it probably goes back to what Bill was describing about how the city and the committee, there's some, it wasn't always clear where authorities lie, and I think maybe one was thinking the other would do it, and the other was waiting to hear from.
But as a committee, we have no money, we can't fix the roof, you know,
Right.
so isn't that kind
But
of?
as a city councilor, you know, I don't know that the city employees go over there and check that building. The committee would be the ones that are there operating, and they could say, hey, the roof is leaking. Or-
And I have some minutes from what Carol, or notes from Carol Larson that says she did report that. And she was feeling like she was never being heard.
I can't really speak to Carol. Carol did come and visit with me, and Carol had somebody lined up, and unfortunately, that didn't work out. That gentleman had a health issue that happened, and Carol and I both struggled for better on a year trying to get in touch with him after he had accepted the work, before we finally pinned him down, and he admitted that he had been injured and wasn't able to come do the work. And then that's when I started researching other companies to
But
try to.
when was that? Was that in 2022?
No, that was probably in 2016.
Well, it was when we did the lodging tax grant, because it was off of his
Estimate.
proposal is what I took to lodging tax.
And I had visited with him too. I think he was from down around Henderson or somewhere maybe.
Yeah.
But I had some notes that Carol Larson has that in 2017, you got a bid from Ellen Berger to fix stuff on the log cabin. And then he got sick and then passed away, but
Yep.
nothing was still done after that point. It's just kind of like it gets dropped. It's nothing, you know.
Well, my recollection on that, and I could be mistaken, but I'm not sure that the city council was in total agreement with what was being proposed to be done at that time. And that's just my memory. That could be false. I don't remember. I remember visiting about it, and I think at the time there was some thoughts that perhaps that was just kind of another Band-Aid fix, and that might not be the best way to spend the money. And then that's when Carol went and found this other gentleman that was gonna come and actually kind of like redo it rather than just plaster around the base, which I think is what Al was gonna do, or something, show wall or something around the bottom.
So I guess what we're looking for is a starting point, because, you know, it's been a good 20 years since we've known some of those issues with that addition, and maybe more. And we don't want to see it continue to decline. The material on the inside is damaged, but it can be fixed, some of it, not all of it. And you know, we need to understand the financing of it. I think we do better, but I think in the past we always felt that there was money that was going to carry over, which that's not the way these budgets work. And this is the same issue that a lot of these museums in the state are facing, and not just our state, but all states, is that we're looking at low-budget municipalities trying to maintain things that need to be maintained, and they can't be maintained every 30 years. They gotta be maintained constantly. So, we need to improve our communications with the city, and then we need to make sure that there's follow-through so that money is well spent, and the money does get spent on the things that it's supposed to. And I sure would hate to see, I hate to see that museum not open in the summer, but we're just unable to right now for safety reasons, but it would sure be nice to get it back to an operating form, either at that location or another location, but to not have, we've got a really nice amount of historical material there, and we're not just gonna go haul it to the landfill and say, well, we tried. We've got to do better than that. As a community, we have to do better than that. And we're willing to do our end of the work too, and we just like to push this in a good, positive direction and get something going.
Yeah, I really think that's where we're at. We can't do anything about what happened 3 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. We've got to develop a plan moving forward, something that works for everybody, something that we can afford. It's not, when we came back that day after we met with that lady, I got online, read the World Herald, and that was probably the same story you were talking about, Bill. I was thinking Bellevue, but maybe
Bellevue had the same thing.
Sarpy County.
Yeah.
They're reimagining what they're doing because essentially their facility isn't up to date anymore, and they've got to redo it. And they were able to raise, what, $471,000, and it wasn't enough to get them anywhere near where they wanted to go, so they're starting to rethink,
Right.
okay, how are we gonna have a museum? What's that museum gonna look like, and how are we gonna display things? And I think we're in the same spot, frankly.
And you really have to have good policy as a museum, and that's on our end of what we will accept and what we won't accept, and how we do that process. And we just had, within the last week, had Senator Hagel's brother contact us and say, hey, I got an Ainsworth baseball uniform from 50 something, and we'd like to donate it to the museum. We're gonna tell them, sorry, can't take it right now, but please keep us in mind. If we can get things cleaned up and going, we'd love to have something like that, but, that's pride in the community that they still have, and they've been gone for 70 years, 60 years, so.
So, Bill, the old original oak cabin, is it sitting on the ground, those logs, or are they on a good foundation? Because I haven't looked at it in a while.
I don't recall right
And
offhand.
then they added on a pine log addition, and then they added on that east wing.
Yes. And I think the east wing is fine. And the original is in good shape, and those logs are, that thing was built to last way longer than us.
And the basement is only under the pine log.
Yes. And it was a great idea at the time, but
It's rotten.
it quickly showed itself to be a boondoggle.
You don't build log cabins out of pine.
Yeah. No, and just to have a basement, I think there's a clay pan in that whole block that holds
Yes.
water on top of it. And so when you dig a hole in it, you're asking for water settling in there. And that could be fixed with simply filling it with dirt and tearing the old log piece off. But that's for way down the road. We're looking at right now just preserving contents.
Do you have ideas of where we're gonna put those contents?
A few, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we would take any others.
Yeah.
But we've been kicking that around some.
I think maybe, I'm sorry, Ken,
It's
go
no
ahead.
secret that it just comes down to tax dollars, and that's never a high priority based on all the other infrastructure we're dealing with.
Well, we figured as a group though too, we could also come up with grants and
Right.
donations
Yes.
from the city.
Yes.
I mean,
And we
that's kind of
know
our-
that.
Yeah, the streets, a classic example, Old Sevens turn into garbage. And the next item on the agenda is the truck. For how much?
You can't skip ahead.
200, we had that go down, and
Right.
it's not that we don't care, it's just, I think every council looks at this and, you know, we can put that little bit of crumb in the budget every year. I'm of the opinion, I'm speaking for myself, for this to be functioning well into the future, it needs to look like what the golf course does, or something like that, where they get some funds, but that's all on them. If you're counting on city to do it, it's gonna look like what it is now.
Well, basically
Just
what
because
we,
these guys have other fires to put out.
Right.
right, what we're
And I-
looking at is we're just wondering how much the city actually has as a, you know, like that 10 or 20,000.
It all comes down to the
Yeah.
budget hearing in August.
Right.
But I mean, that.
Put
the
in.
And so
grant-
we
the
know
grant
there's
that we got.
20,000 set
That's-
there for
that's
that,
that
but
other
that
funds.
may be earmarked for only fixing that north addition.
Well,
That, I mean, and it may not, but that's,
depends on what that group that gave it would probably give
Exactly.
some guidance.
so that's where we'll
But,
need to get some clarification from
This is
them.
me speaking.
Yeah.
In a small town like this with a limited amount of volunteers and a limited amount of funds, we're running 2 museums. And that's tough. And I know the other museum doesn't have room for the artifacts,
Absolutely not.
but in a perfect world, that would be one group and in one location, in my opinion.
But you're really only supporting one museum.
Yeah.
'Cause
Right,
the
but I'm
historical
talking,
thing.
you're asking
The
for
group,
money from
the
the
whole
community, or like as a
Yes.
foundation member, we've given money to this last one.
Yes,
You know, it's like, again, limited amount of money.
Yep.
Got all these things going on, and that's not good. That's too much in a town our size.
I think Ken's point isn't that what we're supporting, it's that can our community
Right.
support 2
Yeah.
museums, or
Right.
can this community of our size, can we support 1 museum? I mean, I think that's what it boils down to. I guess,
Unfortunately, I mean, that's just, it comes down to manpower and dollars for that.
I think we've had some great comments. I guess what I don't, we could talk about this all night without numbers, but I think might be a way moving forward is when we get the information back from the company, maybe have an informal planning meeting with the folks that are interested. And, I mean, council members could be there or not. If we had too many, we'd have to advertise it at a meeting. But we could have a planning meeting to start brainstorming these ideas. Okay, here's what the estimate is, what's realistic, what are our next steps, and start developing a plan to go ahead.
In the meantime, you might ask the visitors committee if they're willing to take the money that's
Joel
been
and I
sitting
talked to
there.
Linda already, and I think the takeaway was when we get the bid from the company and we kind of know what we're looking at, then we'll probably go back to the committee and have a conversation with them about if they even can allow us to, because I think that original grant came out of their brick and mortar fund, so whether they can shift that to cleaning of internal items, they might not even be able to do that, so we're kind of just waiting until we get the numbers so that we can go back and.
I think so that fund you're talking about, it's written as tourism enhancement, so if you can say that those artifacts enhance tourism when cleaned and functional, that I think it would fall under the blanket. It's a fairly wide umbrella, but it is separate from the they've got a promotion account and then a tourism enhancement, and you're right, a lot of times it is some kind of infrastructure, but if it's supposed to be things that enhance tourism in the county where the tax is generated or is collected, so hopefully you'd be able to say that it would fit under that umbrella, but you're right, it's
And
not black and white.
From their perspective too, they may be wanting to see a more well-developed plan from the city before they make a decision on that too, you know, once it's clean, you know, are we moving it to a different location, or kind of what are we doing with that spot? And, you know, that might help them determine what they can and can't do with that as well.
And that's why the planning committee meeting is a great way to start that process.
I really doubt that committee wants that money back. I think they'd like to see it go to this. It's just a matter of how we make that happen.
Can you get it applied, you know?
Hopefully our bill won't be as big as, what was that, Sarpy County you quoted?
Not unless we find a lot of artifacts we didn't. That was on 100,000 artifacts,
And it was $1 million?
that it was, yeah, $800,000 for 100,000 artifacts.
Yeah, they had a lot of stuff going on. They wanted to build a new building.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to seeing the bid bill.
Was that the building too?
Yeah, that was building
That
too.
was the building.
Well, no, that's 800,000 was just to clean it, but that's a little larger scale. Yeah.
So does that sound okay? Can we move on and once we should get that, we should hear back from them, I think, fairly soon.
Yeah, we thought
We'll
maybe
just try to put
today.
together an evening or something, we can get together and start brainstorming, thinking about what do we want, what's the cost, where do we meet?
Yeah,
What does it take to get there?
and we appreciate your consideration on that too.
Well,
Thank you.
appreciate you guys. All right, moving on to Kent's truck, the next
It's
item.
not one.
Discuss and consider bids for a loan on the purchase of a 2019 truck.
They
Sewer
could,
vacuum
Ken,
truck.
if you donated it, they'd probably put your name on it.
I'd even put your picture.
All I know
on
is
it.
if a lift station goes down tonight, we're gonna be really glad we have that truck.
Yeah, and actually, of course, we're not considering the truck. We already had an emergency meeting after the last regular meeting to approve the purchase of that.
And that total again was
195?
Well, it was 195 total, but in your motion, you had said 145 with 50 coming out of the sewer
So it
fund.
was 195 altogether.
So what we're considering here is the loan
140.
for the 140.
145.
145.
So, yeah, I think we got some,
So I've gotten three bids, I guess, on the loan finance. I think Homestead is at 5.35, and West Plains was, I believe, 4.95,
Yep,
and UBT was, I think, 5.19.
that's correct.
Is that right?
Yep.
Thank you. I didn't have it in front of me, but. And that was, they all bid on a four-year loan, annual payment.
Which is decisively less than what the finance would have been through that.
Do that, yeah, if we
Yeah.
would have leased, leased a truck for
Was
some
it
years.
8, 9 or something?
7 years,
Yeah,
It was
They were making
point
good-
something.
good scratch up there.
Then, so those yearly payments will come out of the sewer fund or water and sewer? Some out of water, some out of sewer, is that right?
well,
How does
Debt
that work?
services.
water really doesn't use the sewer truck unless we're like flushing out gutters
Okay.
or storm drain. It's really primarily used by the sewer department only. So you could do it one of two ways, I guess. You could make those payments out of the sewer fund and with the rates, you know, it would be adjusted to be able to pay that. Or you could, pay it out of debt service fund.
But we don't really need to know that really until budget time?
Yeah.
Really? Gives us some time to think about that?
Yeah.
Myself, I'd like to see it come out of, not come out of this road.
Because that service is funded by,
Local option sales tax.
right,
Only for long-term debt projects.
yeah,
Yep.
This is like 4 year,
Um,
so to me, it's not long-term debt to where I think when we do our budget and maybe look at our rates and stuff like that and account for that payment out of rates, but like I said, we can do that in budget time.
And Randy Helbush from NERWA is coming, I believe the 17th of March, to do the water sewer rate studies. So for your April meeting,
Okay.
you should have those numbers too to look at. But yeah, you don't have to decide that, I guess, tonight, but.
So we need to decide what bank we want to. That was,
Yeah, tonight we just need to decide.
it was West Plains,
Which
right,
bid
was
you
the
want?
low one?
West Plains was the lowest at
5.95,
4.95.
4.95. I make a motion to go with West Plains Bank, interest, 4.95 for 4 years on the $145,000 for the 20,000 2019 sewer truck, that.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Kent saw other bids came in just below. Oh, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Go ahead and call the roll.
Brad,
Yes.
Kent,
Abstain.
Heather.
Yes.
I will, if I need to, I can vote yes, but since he abstained, do we need, or is that still a unanimous vote? 2-0?
Yeah.
2-0, okay. Motion carried. Next is an LB 840 loan committee item, application number 26-02, a facade in the amount of $6,220.
Anybody have any questions on it? It's a painting project.
Your notes pretty much explained it, stuff like that, so I'll look at it.
Singer Plumbing, painting all their outbuildings.
Yeah, the committee met on it and didn't see any issues, approved, made a recommendation on it.
I make a motion to approve application 26-02 facade in the amount of $6,220.
Second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion?
That's all right. Just move it along.
Call the roll.
Kent,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. And that brings us to the end of our agenda for Lisa's administrator, clerk, treasurer's report, and Brad's computer didn't die on its battery.
Oh, I wondered what you.
No,
Mine
that's what
did.
the 9% was.
Okay.
So Lisa, what do you,
I thought 9%.
thanks for hurrying back today from Kearney and making it for the meeting.
Sure. Yeah, it's been a busy month. We did our software transition towards the end of February. Had a couple of snafus right off the get-go, which actually worked out really good, to be honest, because it was kind of like everything we tried to do, something was wrong, and so we just hopped back on, and the customer support has been really good from Power Manager, and she hops right on and she just gets right in there and fixes what the issue is, and bing, bang, boom, we're done and we're moving on. So, so far, mostly good, better than I thought it was going to be. So, we're still working through training a little bit, getting familiar, so we're moving kind of slow in the office, unfortunately, just to kind of get caught up. We had about 4 or 5 days at least where we were basically dead in the water while the issues kind of got fixed. So then we had a little bit of a backlog, and then subsequently, because we switched over mid-month and our license for the old software was still through the end of February, we couldn't shut off front desk for online payments, or it shut everything off, which we didn't want to do yet. So we've spent a fair amount of time trying to reconcile about 4 different payment methods coming in, and what's what and what's in what software, and that's actually been the worst part of it, and that has really nothing to do with really issues. It's just more of a timing thing, I think. So all in all, better than expected. We're having a few issues with some general ledger things, and so I wasn't able to produce a treasurer's report for the meeting today, but if council members are gonna come in and look at the bank statements, you're more than welcome to do that. I have a meeting set up with Amelia, with Power Manager on, I think the 17th, actually. And we're gonna go through all of that, and she's going to see what needs to be fixed there and what changes need to be made so that we can get the bank accounts reconciled. And it's kind of confusing. The conversions were brought over not in individual transactions, but in grouped in bunches, so we don't know what's in the bunches. So it's kind of hard to know if there's an error that needs to be fixed that we made, or if it was an error that they made in the conversion, or if it's a duplicate or something. I don't think we'll know that without her help, so that's the plan on the 17th. And then I think we're gonna try billing on the 18th, so. We successfully did payroll on Monday, so, you know, we're getting through it. It's-
Good.
Could be worse,
Yeah.
definitely, could be a lot worse. Office, general things are picking up, of course, the weather's nice, so building permits are starting to come in, and there's, you know, we've been busy, I mean, just generally too, there's been a lot happening, so.
People that had automatic payments set up will need to redo that.
Yes, and so we had sent out an email message, we put it on Facebook, we've got some printouts and handouts in the office, we're trying to get the word sort of circulated. We've been calling and talking to some people, but ultimately, if you haven't already talked to us or heard from us and you had a account set up online yourself, like you had gone on and created your account online to pay your bill, manage your bill, and you were set up for auto pay that way, that will not continue in March, and we have no way of continuing that for you. But if you come into the office and give us a voided check and fill out a paper, we can get you hooked in. And actually doing it through the office, it is of no cost to the customer. There is still a new option that you can go online with our new provider and create an account and manage your bill. If you prefer to do that, you most certainly can. There is a fee associated with anything online. So if you're not scared of that $1.30 fee or whatever it is,
Just a
then
one-time or every month?
it's every transaction.
Okay.
So if you don't mind that and you prefer to just the flexibility and the ease of getting on there and doing your thing, by all means, you know, that's no problem for us. But if you don't want to pay the fee, we can manually enter that for you and avoid the fee. So.
Call me before you shut my service off.
Yeah, we've gotten some good responses from what we put out so far. We've had a lot of people call and come in and doing the automatic thing, pay through the office. So Kelsey's helping us out with that project, and she's kind of whittling down who we had and who we need and getting that entered in. So I imagine as we get a little bit closer to billing time and we have some loose ends, we'll be making some phone calls just to make sure everybody's all good to go and there's nothing falling through, hopefully. So, yeah, really, the worst part has just been juggling the two systems. I think once we get past that hurdle, I think everything's gonna go pretty good. Other than that, can't really.
That's all you've been doing?
I know, it's been kind of nuts, although I am grateful because I really thought it would be worse than it is, so it could be worse.
I have a little bit of, it's okay, a little bit of something from the Care Center meeting on Monday. We have applied for funds through, this first batch is through Adrian Smith, basically. So it'd be federal money. And then we, of course, have to have a match. And if we get it, it would be, what was it, 1.3 million?
We requested 1.3 and we're using 450,000.
Which we've built up money because the facility's been doing well economically.
I said that incorrect. It's actually 1.35, sorry.
Okay.
2575.
We don't know if we're gonna get it. But I do foresee, we had an architect come and just talk to us, and for about, it was about $20,000, I believe. He's gonna bring some people and look at some things, you know, we deal with buildings built probably like 1960. And if you've ever been in the attic, you'll never go back, or you go to screaming, so, you know, there's the question of infrastructure like that needs addressed. But there's also the question of you know, what it is that residents want, both now and the future, as far as more private bathrooms, you know, the look of the facility, the windows, et cetera. And I believe that once we get some answers from him, be expecting us to reach out to the council and the commissioners and, okay, it's time for a joint meeting. Because do you spend that kind of money on an old building? And I'm not in any way advocating publicly here today that we need to do a new one. But the architect, you know, roughly said, and those of you who were there, to take it up to where you'd want it to be or build new, it's still about,
It's like $50 to $100 a square foot difference.
it was 10 million.
Yeah.
Which, you know, was completely out of the ballpark. But, for example, you know, you've got a lot of the dual rooms with 2 residents each are sharing 1 bathroom. So that's 4 people to 1 bath. And Heather's got big eyes like, you know, but that was where, in 1960, people didn't think any different.
Dorm life.
Yeah. People said that to me, it's like a dorm, but dorms have changed, if you look at how the whole college situation has changed too, so people live differently. But for example, if, okay, let's say you wanted to do that and add extra bathrooms, you're sitting on a slab. And how do you get the sewer? So, you know, it's kind of like a no-win situation, so. The 2 groups that are functional for that, both the city and the county, are gonna have to help us some guidance on what's next for that, so.
You got any room for artifacts?
In that
If you thought
shed,
the museum was an issue,
Just
stay
add
tuned.
on a wing.
And I don't know what the answer is, because I was on that board when it first formed, you know, and we had high hopes for, we were actually, I don't want to say crazy enough, but were you here then with the radio? You know, we thought we were going to build a new building.
USDA put a poo-poo to that in our.
Yeah, and we needed, in my opinion, we needed to have that tax levy approved beforehand. But the kind of levy that it would take to service that kind of debt is far and beyond what we're now taking. And also that board was talking, you know, informally, when you do something like that, you know, I'm of the opinion that maybe becomes like a county hospital. I'm not pushing it off on the county, but to do a tax levy, if that's the way it goes, this split between the 2 would be very difficult to obtain. So I can lose sleep over it. I don't know what the answer is. Right now, things are going very well. As far as we've got good staff and things are going well. We're hearing that, we keep hearing that Valentine is going to do something, whether that's rumor or not. And you get me some intel, will you? You've got some connections up
I
there.
feel like,
You know, they talk
this
like
is the
they're-
first I've heard of it,
they're gonna
so.
build and it's like, seriously?
I don't know if they're looking at building or
Or
if they're
we've heard
looking
about
at some
Cherry
other
Hills,
kind
and
of.
segregating part of that is too.
I think they have a group that's just exploring it at this
Yeah.
point from the contacts that I
But it
have.
was so much that the care center, thank you, the mayor, did you send a letter on the care center's behalf? And some others did, and they had like 60?
We actually had, there was over 100 pages by the time the app went in. The governor
The
came
letters
in
were
at the
very-
9th hour.
But I do know, I think they asked for one from someone in Valentine.
We have several from Valentine.
But there were some that didn't, because, again, it's a little territorial, and we have 10 to
10 right
12
now.
people that are coming from there, which makes all the difference when you've got numbers that run around 30 to 35. It works well. But what's there, you may be able to put me in it, and I might suffer through that bathroom, but I know by the look on your face,
Not interested.
not interested. And so there's a cultural shift that eventually has to be addressed. So,
But you're right, if you look new, here's the thing, you've now, with this 5-year levy that was approved, the proof of concept is now there. The certainty that it's gonna stay open, they're showing now that it can work. It's not making a ton of money, but for the most part, it's in the black. Tax dollars are not going to fund operations. That's what you'll be able to use for a grant match.
right.
However, at the same time, it's tough to go to the taxpayers to say, let's do a new facility on a place, now that we're showing you it's working, and do a long-term payback
20 years.
or 20 or 25 years, if you sink $1.7 million
Right.
into that building. So that, it's a
Still
bad
building.
spot to be.
It's,
Grant money's great, but does it torpedo your chances to approve to get voter
And I'm
approval
not-
on and I'm not, like I said, I'm not against
I'm
applying
not
for the
pulling
grant,
this
but
group either way, but it's really a no-win choice.
Well, it kind of was from the get-go, honestly.
It was, but where we're at now is
With
really
the
good.
building.
Really, really, really
I
good.
think
I remember when they
Well,
came over. and it
I'd
was
be one of
bad.
the first ones to say that too, but
that's where it's
got a
at.
good board and the administration out there is doing a good job, and we've got the numbers, and a lot of that is because Valentine closed.
and you think about the community itself. In February, it generated $275,000 in revenue. That is money coming from families, coming from Medicaid, coming from places that would not have come into this community. How often that money gets circulated around when it's revenue of $275,000 a month? They're spending $200+ thousand a month, a lot of that on salaries. Not all your salaries are local people, you've got some agency, you've got some people that travel, but a lot of things get spent here. It supports that hospital pretty well. I mean, so it's, having it open and having it working, that circulation of that kind of revenue and expense in a community this size, it's substantial.
It's actually a
Maybe if we knew the good engineering, you'd do one for $5 million.
Your economic impact on that right now for,
Do you
like
need
Greg's
museums?
talking about, it's 2.4 billion per year.
2.4 million per year. Nobody questions its value to the community and the value to the people there and to the families. It's just, we got a really,
There is
really,
definitely value there, right?
we got a really, really big hurdle to decide, and it's probably getting close to discussing that.
And I don't know if the footprint's big enough that you could, when you talk about private rooms with the, so what I envision potentially as a workaround without a new building, still utilizing what you have, is if there's some way to, add on either another wing or just another portion, whether it's a separate, smaller building that connects, but then your newer one, your private pay, your people that are, the families that are paying, and and then your people that are on Medicaid, maybe they're not in a double room now, but in that utilize
Maybe
what
one
we
in
have
each
there
room sharing
already.
one bathroom.
And you have two people sharing a bathroom because they're each in a room, because you've been able to, even just add some rooms.
I think you're
to
pretty
what
much
we have.
gridlocked on your footprint.
Yeah, and that's what I don't know,
I
if
think
there
we
was a
are.
way to,
But
if that's part of what the
council members,
architects will
if you've ever
look
got time,
at.
go out and do a tour, Yeah.
Well, there's probably a reason that so many of the private facilities closed and failed. And so it's starting to all fall on public, and
I
because
do,
it's a money loser.
I do know that our auditor had a Zoom meeting with us, and he was more than complimentary, like, he does these, there aren't many that have done as well the last 12 months. He's comparing our audit.
Well, I think part of it's your structure of being governmentally owned, because your reimbursements are actually higher. And 10 years ago, that's why it was structured as that interlocal agreement, because if it's private, it doesn't cash flow like it will if it's governmentally owned.
Your reimbursements are higher, and you don't have a group like Deseret pulling out every dollar they can and not fixing or doing anything to upgrade the facility or
We're all back in.
the residents'
Yeah.
comfort.
All right. One other item, you wanna?
Sure, yeah, I neglected to mention earlier in my report that we do have a new city employee that we've hired to manage the park. It's Brock Hobbs. He started on the 17th. And, yeah, so far, I think he's kind of
Picking
hit
up
the
limbs.
ground running. Yes, he's doing some of the pre-work out there, and yeah, so.
When's our pickleball?
Well,
Uh-oh, sorry.
no, it's good. It's sitting here with lots of other things. I've got to get the specs finished so that we can get it out. It's on the very top of my to-do list.
Well, if you switch software every year, maybe it's.
Just a heads up when we talk about parks, so part of your park plan, you know, restroom facilities have been an issue over on the south side of the park. That restroom by Philbin Field is in pretty rough shape, so we're working on, as part of phase 2 and 3 of the pond, it was something that we hadn't really considered early, but, working with Game and Parks on placing a restroom there. It's not gonna have running water or, you know, like hot or cold water, but somewhat what you'd see like at a state park. Yep. And it'll come out, and I don't know if they've talked to you, Lisa, or anything about potentially using your nice new $195,000 pumper to potentially clean it out a couple of times a
And we
year.
can sure
But
do that so long as we can get the arm into
Yeah.
wherever.
Yeah.
And I'm sure,
Put it-
because it's literally a
So-
Game and Parks design, it's got a big concrete it's a concrete pit that they bring in. County will dig a hole, that concrete pit will go in, the structure goes on top of it, and
Is it
so I would
pumped
think
out
there
through
would
a
be,
hatch, or is it
There's a
pumped out
manhole in
through
the back.
There's a manhole in the back.
That is
That would
right.
be
Now
helpful.
that you've seen those park, you're
so
right.
that would maybe solve some of that issue, because with your you've got some soccer and some little kid baseball that's south of Philbin Field and that, those newer couple fields, that would potentially, so where we'd look at that potentially is on the east side of the pond, so whether that's on the, to the west of the little access road or to the east, like I said, I know the east there, they use some of that open space as a soccer field, but if that's a potential, that might solve some of that problem with restroom facility out there, that's at least something you can have the kiddo run to if they've gotta go in the middle, in the third inning, instead of having to haul them quarter mile across the park to get them in somewhere, so.
That app actually goes in this week, so we're hoping that we could set that August, September is kind of what we're looking at. The funders told us they would turn it around pretty quickly, because it does take time, they're not pre-built, so that's what we're looking at.
I went for a
And we
walk.
just kind of folded that in with the phase 2 and phase 3, so that all the match and everything that we've already raised.
If you haven't been by there lately, I went for a walk Sunday. Denny's got forms everywhere.
He's
like
been doing a ton of
man
work
on a
out
mission.
there.
So thanks
So
to
as soon
him.
as it's warm enough for them to pour, he's gonna be having them pour, so.
Oh, man, he's been.
All right, I think we've wrapped her up. We're gonna adjourn at 6:33 tonight. Good discussion tonight on everything. Thanks, everybody.
Good, they got first. Sophie's. Anyway, I don't know about anybody else.